I kind of ruined the old mic a little bit, or like the input thingy to it, to my phone. So I'm using this big mother trucker instead, so I hope that's okay. So yeah, let's get back to the video. Oh boy, Divinity 2. This brings back memories, mostly good memories. I love Divinity 2, and it's definitely in my top games of all time. From the vibe of the game to the visuals, the story, and the really amazing gameplay. This game is a freaking blast to play. Spoilers by the way for like the game in general. Like you can play as a skeleton with a mustache. What more do I need to say, like really? Or as a cool lizard, and that race specifically probably has the best grip in the whole game in my humble opinion. So what is Divinity Original Sin 2 for the uninitiated? Well, it's a CRPG where you wake up on a beach after a little complication along the way. Then you have to talk to people, complete quests, fight, talk to companions, find loot, find some more loot while diving deep into the story and how all this relates to your companions and you, and also your mysterious source powers and magic. Source magic is basically just supercharged magic dialed up to 11, and it also attracts scary looking bugs and monsters and stuff. All this might seem familiar to some of you because yeah, Divinity 2 and Baldur's Gate 3, in concept at least, resemble each other quite a lot, though there are some differences between the two. Like added cinematography when talking to people in BG3, or the fact that the combat systems are very different in the two games, though they both are made by Larian Studios. But you get what I'm trying to say. This is your fantasy RPG story where you go on adventures and do cool stuff, kinda like Lord of the Rings. But in this case, the elves can eat humanoid flesh to get their memories, or you can talk to the souls of the dead when you want, or you can basically suck the magic and life force out of said souls mentioned before. So I really have a fondness for Divinity 2 and everything it tries to do. I just think it's really freaking neat and cool. God, this microphone is kinda heavy when I'm just like holding it here, but what I don't do for the show business, I guess. And the thing about this game that I really enjoy is just the sheer amount of creativity, both in scale and in quality. If you've seen the videos I put out, it will probably not surprise you that I really enjoy fantasy. And I think that Divinity 2 just straight up does fantasy extremely well. Like, I get excited just thinking about this game again. The scale of creativity is amazing in this. There's dwarven politics, these dark monsters that you learn about throughout the game. There are bad guys and good guys, but sometimes the good guys are bad guys, and sometimes, though rarely, the bad guys are good guys. There's this giant mutated and probably mutilated werewolf thingy. There are demon hunters and demons to be hunted. There are undead factions and even eviler bad guys. And dragons and everything in between. All these things might be a little bland and basic in a vacuum, but Divinity combines all these awesome fantasy concepts and creates something truly special and marvelous, especially with the unique vibe the game brings forth. It's both bright-eyed fantasy where the heroes work together to succeed, but it's also weird and dark and monstrous at times. It's great. What truly makes this game special, to me at least, is the setting and everything in it. But the other part that makes me love this game is its sandboxy nature. Don't get me wrong, this game has quests and important stuff to do, and you will get your ass kicked if you wander off the path you're supposed to go on and try to fight something 2 levels over you. Kinda like in World of Warcraft or something like that. But within these constraints, you really have the tools to do all kinds of awesome and crazy stuff. Like you can try to sneak your way through an objective. You can use the environment to blow stuff up, you can teleport a companion somewhere, you can just walk straight through traps if you have the health for it. You can turn people into chickens, swap places, or fly. Or if your talking skill is high enough, you can talk your way through obstacles. And a whole lot of other things. And this also applies to combat, by the way. Like you have all these different cool spells that work in different ways and have synergies with each other. And just like out of combat, you will face tons of enemies where you can't just do the same thing every time. Because most of the enemies are very different, so you really have to think about what you're doing. I know it's wrong to call Divinity 2 a puzzle game, because it isn't, of course. But it's definitely a problem solving game. You are faced with challenges and you have tons of tools to face those challenges. The question is, how do you want to do it? And I really love the autonomy this game gives you in how you handle yourself. And the fact that you get an engaging world and story to interact with. It just feels like the cherry on top of an already amazing game and game mechanics. And I know some of you might not really think about this, especially after Baldur's Gate 3 and its amazing production value. But the fact that there is a narrator is really a blessing that I will not take for granted. I tried to play Pillars of Eternity before Divinity 2. And most of it is not really voice acted in that game. Some parts are, but not everything. And I had a hard time getting through it. And I don't know, I just really like when these types of RPGs are voice acted. But that's just a personal opinion, but I feel like that really adds to everything. And again, this is not to hate on those games where it's not voice acted. Wrath of the Righteous is in my top games of all time, even more so than Divinity 2. And you mostly had to read stuff yourself in that game. But I just want to acknowledge that I really enjoyed the fact that Divinity 2 was fully voice acted. And it really added to the experience for me. It felt like I was a little child getting to listen to an amazing and wonderful story that I was actively participating in creating, which is just amazing. Another part that needs to be acknowledged is the absolutely amazing soundtrack. It's hard to explain in words. Like yeah, it's kind of what you expect for a fantasy game. But I still think it has its own unique spin to it. As I talked about before with the vibe of Divinity 2. I think the music truly reflects and brings forth this unique vibe the game has. Like, listen to this. The vocals and the flute go unbelievably hard. Borislav, Slavov, who has also made the music for Baldur's Gate 3, is so talented. I hope I pronounced his name right. The music is just straight up good. I don't know how else to say it. Oh, and spoilers again for Act 3, by the way. When you defeat the giant demon dude who seriously needs to take a chill pill, Louise sings and plays this song afterward, and it's just so freaking cool and unique. I really wanted to bring awareness to this because sound design and music are really important parts of RPGs and are integral to the storytelling. And this game nails the music. It's like the meme where it's like, hey composer Borislav, Slavov, make some music real quick. It's just some basic fantasy. And he just goes crazy with fire in his piano or fire on his like music script and creates a masterpiece. Both Baldur's Gate 3 and Divinity 2 has some amazing music, and this guy is just so talented. I've already mentioned the gameplay and how diverse it is, but gosh damn, I really love that part of the game too. I know, it's not fun to get stun locked or turned into a chicken for 2 whole turns, but it's also what makes this game so cool. If you wanna win, you gotta learn how to stun enemies and make them skip their turn, whether it's turning them into chickens, petrifying them, freezing them, or literally stunning them with lightning, or all other ways you can do it. Plus, both you and nearly all enemies have both physical armor and magical armor. I won't go in depth with it, but if you want your enemies to skip their turn, you have to get one of those types of armor down before you are able to stun them. And then you can, for example, freeze them or petrify them or whatever. And this is exactly what I mean when I call this game a problem-solving game. You have a problem, enemies, and you have to be tactical about it and deal with them in the best way possible. Plus, they will also try to deal with you in the best way possible, depending on the difficulty, of course. For example, I played as a summoner, where my little guy did all the damage, basically. And I just stood in the backline trying to make him stronger, while doing some magic stuff. Or that time I played a tank that basically did no damage, but I had a high stat in retribution, so around 30 to 45% of the damage I took went straight back to the enemy. Hey, and newsflash, a lot of the enemies have the same tools as you do, or at least the humanoids do. Monsters kinda do their own thing over there. And at least for me, this kind of sandboxy gameplay is some of the best I've seen. This may be a weird comparison, but I kinda feel like it's the same with Skyrim. Like you have all these ways of dealing with enemies, you just have to find the one that suits you best. Whether it's a specific item, your shouts, a bow, a sword, a spell or the environment. Divinity 2 kinda works like that too. And this whole puzzle problem solving gameplay gets even more crazy when you do this with your friends. Both for the better and for the worse. This leads me into multiplayer, which is a blast with friends. And you can also really hate your mates when you play multiplayer because they ninja loot, mistakenly stun you, take some of the loot you could have used, make you restart because they failed at pickpocketing, and a whole slew of other things. But I also think that there is a charm to all the tomfoolery. When you play this game single player, it's a very concentrated, amazing CRPG experience. When you play it with your friends, it's just full of chaos and a total cluster of mayhem, which maybe makes you skip or fail a quest, makes you worse in combat and makes your build worse, but it also makes the game really frigging fun and a joy to play. Especially when you finally work as a team and take down that hard encounter and you really work together to do it. That's just really rewarding. So whether you are new or come fresh off Baldur's Gate 3, I can wholeheartedly recommend Divinity Original Sin 2. Though it is different from Baldur's Gate 3 and a lot of other RPGs in general. So please keep that in mind before you buy it. Whether you want to experience an amazing setting, create your own amazing moments and stories within this crazy and awesome framework of a game, or you simply fool around with your friends, I think this might be something for you. So yeah, thanks for watching, and let's see what other great stories or games we can dive deep into the next time. See ya!